Welcome. This is Scott from My Life's Reward. This is part 2 of the Keewaydin Lake State Park visit. And I did mention in the last video there's only going to be 2 parts. There will be 3. I didn't want the videos to get too long, and this one got too long. So this video will focus mainly on 2 things. The main road going into the park and a little background on how the park was named and some history. This sign's a bit intimidating, but most vehicles can make it through the park, to the park with no problems. Keewaydin Lake State Park is about 8,000 acres, and you'll notice on this map, you'll see some names, and the subsequent maps are coming. You'll see people's names like Keewaydin Lake, Teddy Lake, Claire Lake. These are names of the children and grandchildren of a very prominent family that goes back in history. Perhaps this next map with the lake high life will lend a clue. This is Fred C. Miller, and he led the Miller Brewing Company up until 1954. The Lard brothers and Frederick and his son were taking a plane on a hunting trip, and the plane had some sparks coming out of the engine, and before they could get back to the runway, the plane crashed. There are 2 cabins still left today that were used by the Miller family. One was the caretaker's cabin, the other one was the main lodge. And those can be rented out for a stay at Keewaydin Lake State Park. At some point, the Miller family sold the land to a logging company, and eventually the state acquired a portion of the land to turn into the park. And that's the story that I have to share with you about Keewaydin Lake State Park. Check out the road going into Keewaydin Lake State Park and the parking area. It'll show the parking area, and then the rest of the way into the Teddy Lake Yurt, which would be the alternate way from what I had in the first video. So sit back and enjoy, and thank you. Next video will be more about the yurt, Teddy Lake, and the surrounding small buildings around the yurt that I stayed at. If you watched the last video, you can see we ended up in the same place, coming in from the other way. We are now at the drive for the Teddy Lake Yurt. Join me next week for the final part for the Keewaydin Lake State Park visit. And until next week, take care.